In this lesson, we're going to model the cover for our car shell. Alright, so one of the final pieces that we need to create is going to be the cover for our car shell here. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the car shell and borrow the geometry from it to create this object. So let's go ahead and hold down Shift and drag up our car shell just slightly, and we're going to make a copy of that. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and convert it to an editable poly. But before I do that, let's turn off isoline display and just take a look at the geometry that I'm going to get from this. So I may want to take my iterations down to 1 just to get myself started here. So now I'm going to go ahead and right click and convert to editable poly, and then I'm going to select the polygons that I want for my car shell. So looking at this, I could probably take these pieces right along here, right across the top. Okay, and I'm just going to go right down, and let's make sure that we select the right ones that we need for this side. Okay, and let's just make sure that we mimic that. And then in my front view, hitting F on the keyboard, I'm going to hold down Control and select just these right here. Okay, just so we have these pieces. Let's also get these right back here. Let's make sure that that has been copied over from the other side. And with those selected, I'm going to hit Control I to invert my selection and just simply hit Delete. So now I'm left with the polygons that I want for the shell of my car, or for the cover for the car. So now what I can do is I can come in and start to modify the shape to match what I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the original shell. So let's hide selection, and let's also hide that carriage. And let's go to our front view, and let's start to match up this shape a little bit. So you may have to come in and start to deal with some of these different pieces here. And I may actually just go ahead and get rid of the back end here. That might be a little bit too much to worry about. So let's select around this vertex. I'm going to pull that down to here. And I'm just going to match it up at the edges for right now. So just pulling that down. And we'll worry about how that affects the overall shape with our shell in just a little while. I'm just trying to get this shape going here. Let's hit Alt X so we can see our object. And I'm going to pull this up. And I'll take this and I'll pull that up to here. And then I'm going to take all of these and just pull those straight up to match right here. Okay, create that shape, and I'll pull this up here. And actually, you know what? Let's pull this down. Let's pull it down to right here, because I can create that later. I can actually extrude that off of what I have. So let's just get this main shape. Okay, so pretty happy with the way that's looking so far. Let me just kind of straighten up this topology. And happy with that up to this point. Okay, so let's take a look in our perspective view. I'm going to hit Alt X, and I just want to take a look at this. We may have to thin out some geometry, so I'm going to double click on this loop, hit Control Backspace to get rid of that. Also do the same thing for these two loops, so Control Backspace to get rid of those. And we just want to work with as few polygons as possible. So I'm going to take those polygons, or that vertex on each side, and just pull that straight up. Same thing with this one. Pull that up as well, just to kind of round out that side there. So just kind of inspecting my shape, and we look good. So now what I want to do is I want to create the upper portion right here. Okay, so this second piece. So what I have available to me are these polygons right here. And I'm going to use inset. So let's inset that just a little bit here. And I'm going to hit OK on that. Now I want to get rid of this polygon right here, because what I want to do, let's go ahead and hit delete on that, is what I want to do is I want to take this edge and I want to pull that forward, so that way that is the front edge right there. Now if you need help getting that perfectly straight, you might want to select that set of vertices there. Okay, just like so. And then grab your scale tool and scale that to where it's straight. Now I can see here I've got a few vertices that are just kind of hanging off here. I'm not sure where those came from, so let's just delete those out of our scene. Okay, we don't want floating vertices. Alright, so now let's take these polygons, and in our front view I'm going to grab my move tool and I'm just going to pull those up to right about here. Okay, and actually let's go ahead and pull them all the way up. If I look at that, and let's push that forward. So with that pulled all the way up, we've got kind of this this vent type of shape here that we can that we see in our geometry. And I'm going to take that last edge across the back there. I'm going to pull that back down a little bit, make that a little bit closer, so that way it kind of transitions into this shell. So I can see that if I hit Alt X, you can see how that's going to kind of transition back into the original shape there. So I just want to pull that close. Okay, make some modifications as you need to for this. So now that I have this, I've got the basics kind of created here, and if I unhide my objects, okay, unhide that, I need to make the modifications to fit around my original shell. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to hold or hit F3 so I can see that original edge. I'm going to pull that out and do that on each one of these edges until that pops out there far enough. Okay, and I'm just trying to keep that as round as possible. It looks pretty good. And I'm going to take that bottom vertex there. And it's okay if it's kind of cutting through there. We'll take care of that here momentarily. Now, making changes like that on this side can be a little difficult to manage on the other side as well. So what you can do is you can simply create a segment right down the center. So I'm going to use connect and create that segment and then delete the one half that you haven't made any changes to. So we'll delete all those vertices. Let's make sure that we get all of them. And we're going to use the symmetry modifier, okay, to get the other side. So this is a quick way of getting any geometry that's needed. Okay, so now if I come into Editable Poly, if I make changes to one side, it'll automatically make the changes to the other. Now we could have used this technique at any time during our modeling process, but I found that it would be more beneficial to show you this kind of at the end, so that way you really appreciate this workflow and see exactly how it works, and really how it can get you out of a jam during your modeling process. So now that I have this, you'll notice I have this open set here, and this is not going to work for us. So what I need to do is I need to take the edges that I have here, and I need to basically extrude those down. So with these edges selected, I'm going to hold down Shift and drag, and that's going to create a set of edges off of those edges that I had selected. Okay, so what I'm going to do at this point is I've only selected a certain set right now, but you'll see here that I have a gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vertex mode, and inside of vertex mode I'm going to just simply weld this vertex to here. So let's go ahead and do that. Target weld, right click, target weld, and go from this vertex to this one. So you'll see that that has been snapped there. And now what I can do is I can take this set of edges, hold Shift and drag that down. Let's hit F3 just to see exactly where that's going to go. And I'm going to pull that down just a little bit further, but you'll notice that I accidentally had a second set. So let's hold down Shift, drag down just that one. Now let's go to vertex mode and select around those two vertices, and let's use weld. Now you should see that snap together. If you have those vertices selected, you can look right up here in your selection rollout, and it should tell you that vertex 37 or whatever the ID number is selected. Now if you have multiple vertices still selected, it should say something like 2 vertices selected or 3 or more vertices selected. And if it's still doing that, even if you've hit weld, make sure that your threshold is up high enough for that to weld. All right. So now we have our car shell started, I want to go ahead and take this edge right here, and I want to push that back for right now, just to kind of put that back in line. Now I need to create the rest of this. So I'm going to take this edge right here, and in my left view, hitting L on the keyboard, I'm going to hit F3 so I can see this. I'm going to hold down Shift and drag this out in a diagonal fashion, just like so. Go to our perspective. Let's go back to our shaded view, and then I'm going to take this edge and I'm going to drag that down as well. Let's hit F3, and I'm going to go to vertex mode. I'm going to right click and target weld from here to here, and then this vertex back to here. So we've created that part of the shell that's kind of sticking up off of that. Now all the while we're doing that, we're getting that on the other side as well. So we don't have to worry about that. Now finally, I'm going to take these two edges, I'm going to hold down Shift and drag those this way in the Y direction, and then hit F3, and let's weld that corner there. So let's go to vertex mode, I'm going to right click, target weld, go from this vertex to here. So now that's all one solid piece still. Let me hit F3 so we can see that again. So it's still all one solid piece, and we've created everything that we need. Now along the back side, we do need to go ahead and bring that down as well. So let's make sure that we take these, and we'll hold down our move tool, we'll hold down Shift, and we'll drag that down. And then I'm going to take these, and I'm going to drag those over in the Y. Okay, and then down in the Z after I've extruded those. I'm going to hit Alt-Q so I can solo that object so you can see exactly what's happened here. So I took these edges right here, hold down Shift and drag those down, and I took these separately and drug those out. Now all I have to do is weld those two vertices to make sure that that is set together. Okay, so here those have welded together, and there we go. So here is our shell cover. Now we can make some modifications to the angles of these as needed. Once it's all together, it's easy to adjust, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so I'm going to take this down, make some slight modifications to the overall angle of this cover. Pull that up, and then now let's unhide everything. So unhide all, and then now what I can do is take these polygons right here, and I can extrude those out. Now the problem that I'm going to have here is that I can't inset that to get the rim that I need and then extrude it out, because it still has that symmetry applied to it. So I'm going to wait for that last. Let's go ahead and get the vent here. So let's select just this polygon. I'm going to extrude it up, and I'm going to take the amount down to maybe 6 or so, and we'll hit OK. And then I'm going to go to edge mode, hitting 2 on the keyboard. I'm going to select this back edge, and I'm going to constrain that to edge, and then pull that down in the Y and Z. So that way it kind of gives us that tapered look. Let's take this one, let's pull that one down a little bit more too. There we go. So now if I go to polygon mode, I can select just this polygon, we'll inset that, give it a little bit of a rim, and then we'll bevel by extruding that in a negative direction and then also beveling it down, so it kind of gives us that inset like so. So that has been done on the other side. We don't have to worry about that. So now, once I've finished all of those details like that, I'm going to convert this to editable poly, take these 4 polygons, I'm going to inset those by 1, and then we'll extrude those. I'm going to hit OK with my extrusion, then go to my front view, and hit Alt-X so I can see exactly where this needs to be, and then go to vertex mode by hitting 1, and just match that shape there. So here, I have that shape. I can come in and make my adjustments as needed to kind of round off the front of that. So I'm going to make sure that I select all the vertices along the edges there. And let's go back to shaded view. And let me pull that back. And then I'm going to take these and just kind of pull those down. I'm just trying to create a rounded look to that. So there we go. We've got the rough shape of our shell, and then now all of this point, all we have to do is apply Turbo Smooth to get that as smooth as possible. But again, like I said, we're going to wait to get that finished. In the next lesson, we're going to take care of our antenna, and then we'll clean up any smoothing that we need to do. So I'll see you then.